afternoon and welcome to a very special edition of Live 605. Of course, it's not 605. We could call it Live 1600 because that's what time it is here where we are. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Con Kazantzidis, featuring in this very, very special episode a couple of reasons. Firstly, because we're going to answer a question that someone asked. I think it was Leon that asked a question some time ago. I think it was about 2 lives ago. The reason I'm here and not in Studio A, I'm in Studio B, is that there's some work that's going to be done in the area a little bit later on, so we need to get in and out. This may be a time that will suit some and not others. For that, I am very, very sorry. But you still get to see and spend time with me. If you're new to this live scenario, and you may well be because, hey, we're on 2 hours earlier, then feel free to jump on and say hello. And it wouldn't be a Live 605 without our good friend, Paul. Hello, Paul. How are you? Good afternoon. Pretty panels behind me. Yes, look, there. I think it's just, look, these panels are hiding an enormous mess. There's mess everywhere. And that's just how it is, I guess. Lovely to see you. Anyway, thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining us. David, I believe we've got David here from Asheville. Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining us. It's probably a little more acceptable in terms of the times over there in the United States. Usually when we're on, it's some ungodly hour. I know that on the East Coast, it's probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, although I know that there are people that are up at all hours doing all sorts of things. So thank you for joining us, David. It's very nice. And from one David to the next, Dave James. Hello, how are you going, David? Nice to see you on the live as well. Look, Leon, who's probably not on at this stage, well, he might be. If he is, he can say hello. Hello. Asked a question about blades, and this is a question that comes up time and time again, and it's a good one because sometimes we feel that the accepted wisdom may have evolved in some way. It may have changed. There could be some new facts that come to light or something like that. Of course, there are others that think, listen, I've dialed in what I want in terms of my razor blades, and I'm not particularly interested, in knowing any much what it is. I know all there is to know about blades. Nice to see Pegleg. Nice for you to join us on YouTube. Yeah, speaking of YouTube, we're actually broadcasting live to YouTube as well as Facebook, as well as Twitter. I'm a glutton for punishment, but hey, I guess so are all of you. So the question, without too much fuss and dancing around and carrying on, is a good one. It basically says, could I do a session on choosing a good DE blade? Now, this is interesting because we all know the saying, your mileage may vary. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and that to a large extent is true. But there are some things that you can do. All of us can do. I've done this at one stage in my life where we can actually pin down exactly what it is that we like about a particular blade. So my advice, assuming, of course, that this is, you're a newbie, and I know a lot of you aren't, but assuming that you've just started with this is the advice that I would give. But before I give advice, I have to say hello to my good friend, Steve Wilson. Hello, Steve. How are you going? Let's just get that out of the way. Good afternoon, Shavers. Yes, what a glorious day in the mountains. It's a beautiful day in the mountains. Oh, it's stunning in the mountains, where we are. I hope it's beautiful where you are as well. Thanks for jumping on the live, Steve. It's very nice to see you. Yes, so choosing a good DE blade. So we're going to cover some of the fundamentals. First and foremost, and I mean it goes without saying almost, that all, if not most, blades are very, very, very sharp. Even after you've used them umpteen times, they're going to be sharp. They're sharp objects. They will cut, right? The question is, how do we dial in or choose a particular blade for ourselves? This is something that feel free to explore and do it. But this is how I have come to choose the blades that I use, and I'm sure it will be of use to some of you out there when deciding what sort of blade to use. First and foremost, I would suggest to try one brand and just stick to it. All right. Sampler packs are great, and I recommend sampler packs with different brands, obviously. A sampler pack with the same blade is useless, although there are you can buy smaller quantities of the same brand. In this instance, we're talking about finding a brand and just stick to it. All right? Don't chop and change. Use the same brand. Okay? Now, if you're having trouble with the brand after you've done all the things that one must do, the prep, the blade angle, things like razor pressure, all those things that we know contribute to having a great shave, then this is how what I would do. I would stick with that one brand. Okay, I would stick with it for 3 shaves and then determine whether it's for me or it isn't. Now, if it's tugging and it's rough, I'm not going to throw it out straight away. I'm going to give it 3 shaves. It's just one of those things. It's an arbitrary number. You could give it 4. You could give it 2. I use 3, I guess, because I like numbers, and I like knowing that after it's 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. So I would use it 3 times, and then make up my mind about whether that blade works well in that razor, and that's my other point. Before we go to that, though, I have to say there are some questions that get asked time and time again, and people make these comments. I've even said them myself. And generally you find this from people that are new to shaving. They'll say, what's the best blade? Or what is the sharpest blade? And quite often you'll hear people say it's a feather, for example. Or they might say, I don't know, it's an Astra, or whatever the case may be. That question, although I understand it, is irrational and it's a nonsense. The best blade is the one that works for you. Now, after you've done this 3 shave test, if you find that blade is tugging or it's not quite right, I would try it in another safety razor. Yes, the safety razor and the blade work together or don't work together. So don't just throw it out, okay? Don't just say, that's it, I'm not into treats. Platinum treats, I hate them, they're terrible. Platinum treats work well for me, but they only work well for me in a Merkur 34C HD, funnily enough. That's it. If I put it in any other razor, I seem to have a subpar shave. Now, if that's been your experience, please let me know. I'd like to know. So what I would do is I'd say this razor blade is not working in this safety razor, therefore I have to do something else with it. I have to put it in another blade. So I take it out and I just put it aside and I'll say, right, I will come back to you. But the key thing is to stick with that one blade. And generally speaking, the 3 things, razor blades are going to fall into one of 3 characteristics. There's 3 things that a razor blade will display immediately. It'll either be a really, really bad shave, it'll be a terrible shave, it'll be an acceptable shave, in other words, it works fine, and or the third option, it'll be absolutely fantastic. If you have found that absolutely fantastic blade in that particular safety razor, stay there, don't move. Just keep using it, right? Just keep using it, keep using it, and keep using it. That's important, right? Now, does that mean you're never ever going to pick up another razor blade again? No, we'll talk about how we enter that realm as well. What I would do is I would stay with that particular razor and spend as much time with it as possible. I've heard the example being used that if tennis players, they're not going to muck around with different rackets if they're getting a good game with a particular racket. You're not going to keep changing rackets, right? Stay with the same implements, stay with the same razor blade, stay with the same safety razor, and really hone that in. Dial that in to such an extent that you know that you're going to get predictable shaves that are great. No, worry-free shaves. That is critically important. Now, once you've done that and you've said, look, this blade, I know this blade works for me, And this is why you hear it. People say, oh, I love Voshkods. They're fantastic. They're amazing. They're the best blade. I'm never going to go anywhere. That's actually a very good thing, right? You don't need to try thousands and thousands and thousands of blades unless you haven't found the one that works for you. If you haven't found the one that works for you, then keep trying and keep changing the razor, right? Those two things do play on. Now, also, something else is happening there. So as time increases, you'll be able to find the razor blade that you like in the safety razor that you like, but also your level of expertise has improved. How certain soaps behave is something that you're able to ascertain. So experience and user experience is something that's really quite important. So yes, the blade is very important. We know they're all sharp. Some are more comfortable than others for some and not for others. And also the actual safety razor plays a big difference. It does. It actually does. We sell a stainless steel 316 Edwin Jagger, and it comes with a pack of feathers. And I've had a number of people that have contacted me post-sale and say to me, you know what, I don't know why they put feathers in there with that 316. And I say, oh yes, why do you say that? Because I got a reasonable shave with a feather, but I got a much better shave with an Astra. I said, okay, stay there, don't move. If that's what's working for you, stay there. There's no point chopping and changing. It's just once it works and you find a comfortable shave, then stay there. That's all you need to do. You don't need to muck around with it. So that's it. So the best razor blade then is the one that gives you a comfortable shave in the razor, safety razor, that may be your favorite razor or the one that you enjoy using. In other words, stay with one, don't move if it's comfortable, right? Why would you change it if it's comfortable? If it works, stay there, right? And that's why quite often you hear people, no, I only use these blades. It's the one thing they're quite loyal to. Only using a particular blade. There's a reason for that. So once you do that, you'll find that they will perform fairly consistently for you. Now, what about when others say, oh, these are the best, I hate derbies. I've heard that one time and time again. Now, I know people that actually love them. I'm not a fan, personally. It's not that I've had horrific shaves with them, but I've had inconsistent shaves, and that's the problem for me. But some people swear by them. Oh, the Derby Premiums, they're an absolutely fantastic blade. Now, I'm not going to go on the statistical variance of how many people have said that the Derby Premium blade is the blade, right? And say, oh, well, if everyone's saying it's the blade, if, Pol Silvers are the blade, then I'm going to go for that. I know people that have had varying degrees of success with those brands that I've just mentioned. It's what works for you. And I suspect there might be some elitism going on here. Not that it happens in the shaving community, of course, but there might be something where people are saying, you know what, this particular blade works for me, this one doesn't, I'm going to stick with this one. Stay where it works, right? Don't move from there. We've got some comments here, which is always nice to see, really, I have to say. Who have we got? Paul. Paul said, you started me off with a little mix of blades, but the Astra blades have never given me a poor shave. Okay, see, that's what I mean. So if Astras work for you, you just stay there. There's no point chopping and I mean, you can, and you probably should. After you've developed that level of experience, you say, look, I've got this new razor. I want to try an Astra in that new razor and see how it goes. It might actually be subpar for you. Just chop and change and see how it works for you. I think that's pretty important. Rob Bruno, greetings from Vegas. Oh, Vegas, a place that I hold near and dear to my heart, Rob. Yes, I love Vegas. Love it. Absolutely love it. And, of course, Abby loves our new panels. Thanks, Abby. Look, they're not that new, but they work. They work. And as I said, I had to do an earlier show today just because there's going to be some work going on around the place and some noise, and it may actually even start while we're doing this live. So that's why I'm sort of racing through. Nice to see you on the live, Abby. Dave. Now, Dave bought some Perma Sharps 2 weeks ago. They're my favourite so far. Look, I love Perma Sharps. Love them. They're good. They're really, really good. And they're good in a number of safety razors for me. Not just the Merkers, not just the Edwin Jaggers. I've used them in feather safety razors. Yeah, they're good. I actually really enjoy them. Ken's shaving. Good morning, evening. Good to see you too, Ken. Yes, it is. What is it? 4:16 p.m. here. So there you go. Now, Ken has said something else here. He said, yes, either stick with what works or at least experiment with what works with different razors. However, the optimal shave comes down to one razor, one blade, good preparation and technique. Absolutely. Here, I agree with you entirely. That's a very, very important point. I know that there's an excitement when you first get into it. Wow. I mean, the first thing you'll notice if you transition from a cartridge razor to a safety razor and use a double-edged razor blade, you'll just go, oh my God, I can't believe this, right? Once you've gotten over that sort of, you've been bedazzled and amazed by how wonderful it is, then you think, there are all these different brands. Maybe I should try them. You should. But initially, please just stick with one brand in one particular safety razor. If after 3 shaves, it's not doing it for you, remove that blade and just say, look, bye-bye. I'll be seeing you, but I'll be seeing you in another safety razor, right? And then if it doesn't perform in that safety razor, I'd even give it a third go in another safety razor. And if it doesn't perform then it's definitely not for you. And it might be for somebody else. And that's absolutely fine. So let us know, folks. We've got a couple of comments here. Maybe this is a little bit more of a more appropriate hour. I don't know. This could be a new thing. Yes. So I think it's one of those things where you can't really be prescriptive, but there are certain principles. Remember, all blades are sharp. They will all remove whiskers from one's skin. No question about that. Whether they do that comfortably or not, of course, depends on, as I said, the actual blade, your level of experience and preparation, and the safety razor. There is something else. This whole stainless steel, I've got to get the stainless steel stuff. Oh, it's going to be great, whatever, I'm not going to buy the carbon steel ones. I want the stainless steel. Stainless steel is an interesting one. Yes, it is resistant to some staining. It will everything stains, okay? So it's almost a misnomer. It will stain. But carbon steel actually holds a better edge. Yes. Problem with it, it rusts. That's the only problem. It holds a really good edge, but it rusts. So if you happen to have a non-stainless steel razor blade in your collection there somewhere, you'll find that if you don't get through it fairly quickly and you leave it in the safety razor, it will give off some of its, it'll say, here you go, here's some rust for you. Deal with that, if you may. So what I would do in that instance, and some people like to take out the blade, and I don't like handling a blade once I've used it. Once it's come out of its waxy little wrapper, it goes into the safety razor. I use it until it's ready to go, and then once it's gone, it's gone. I don't like taking it out and doing all this sort of business, drying it, just leave it there. But if I must dry it, I will do it with a 90% plus rubbing alcohol. Well, dunk it once, don't leave the razor blade and the safety razor in the rubbing alcohol. It's just in and out, and what the rubbing alcohol will do, it will displace the water, and this thing will dry very quickly, and you'll be able to get a little bit more mileage out of the carbon steel razor blades. The other thing is all these blades have different finishes. Some are Teflon coated, others have got the chrome, and others are stainless steel and that sort of stuff. I'm guided a little bit by that. But what guides me is how it feels and what sort of shave it gives me. I think that's the most important metric for me. And Ken has said, as I learned, it's a learning curve for sure. I actually have my favourite blade, and it performs in my favourite razors because of the aforementioned factors. We all overthink. That's me. Look, we do all overthink it. It's understandable because what you're doing is you're chasing that shave, the amazing shave. I suspect that probably doesn't exist, but you can get some damn fine shaves. I remember once I think it was in California. We went to the Big Shave West there, and I was sitting on a panel there, and someone said, "Oh, do you do a 3-pass shave?" And I said, "Not always. No. Why would I do that? Do I need to do a 3? I want to be able to shave again the next day, right? This insistence on having a 3-pass shave may end up with tears before bedtime and a lot of microabrasions and discomfort. You don't have to go for that, BBS or Baby Butt Smooth 3-pass shave. I do 2. Admittedly, I go with and across, and then touch up, a little buffering here and there. That's it. Now, technically, it might be a 38-pass shave, but it's not a 3-pass shave in the strictest sense of the word. Rob from Vegas tells us that Persona, Gillette Silver and Feather work for me. Yeah, look, tick, tick, tick. Although Persona for me, the Persona Blues, sometimes I've had a rough shave in most of my razors, in most of my safety razors with the Personas, but I have had very good shaves with them. You've just got to work on it. Pre-shave prep is key to a great shave. Absolutely. I agree with that entirely. I agree 1,000%. It's very, very important. So that's it's very interesting. Thanks for your comments here, guys. Dave now tells us that he uses one brand of blade. I use that blade as a control to see if I like different DE razors. Most straight razors are made using high carbon steel over stainless. Absolutely. Yeah. But as you would know, if you want to avoid pitting and devil spit and tarnishing and all sorts of nasty things that can happen to a straight razor, you need to look after it, and you need to keep it. I usually spray it with a bit of inox, food grade kosher inox, and it just does a magnificent job. Yes, yes, I think that's a very, very good point. Thank you, David. I've got, we're getting a few comments coming through here. Look, I think it's time for me to have some hydration. Please be hydrated too. When you shave, make sure you hydrate both inside and out. I've said that before. People think I'm a nut. I don't care. Also, tell us if you like this new time. Look, I don't want to keep doing this from here, from Studio B, but if I must, I must. I know some people have things to do. They have obligations. Some people need to get to bed on the other side of the world. Others have obligations with children and the like. But if this time suits, maybe we might do a live 1605 or something. I don't know. I've run out of puns. I've run out of jokes. I've run out of all sorts of things. And unfortunately, I've run out of time. So what are we doing? I'm going to be answering these questions. People have asked questions. I've got a couple of more, but I will do those in next lives because I just don't want to bring it all and just overwhelm people. Tell people about this. Tell them about this live. Spread the news. I try not to be salesy and pushy or anything like that. I just want to share information with you, and I also like it when people share their experiences with the rest of the community. I think it's wonderful. I love it. I love it. Oh, what's he done now? Dave James, live 454, or as I like it, call it 6 to 5. Yeah, well, there you go. Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure having you on live. As always, well, that is it for me. It's time for me to go. We will see you in the next live.